We're good.
What is going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Talking ATL Hawks podcast. As you can see here, me and Andrew are sitting down together drinking hot chocolate because that's what Andrew promised. He said he'd make me hot chocolate if the Hawks swept the Western or won three of the four Western road games, which we ended up sweeping. If you couldn't tell already, we're going to get into that here in a little bit. So I put some extra in there for him. So for all the Hawks fans out there, the spirits are high right now. Thank the Lord for that, because the Falcons suck. So other than we just needed something to go away, man. Like the Falcons had high expectations, the Hawks had high expectations. One of them's failing, and one of them are soaring right now. It's crazy to say. Yeah, I should have worn myself. By the way, we went to that Skyhawks game on Friday. Got the watch Kobe Johnson kind of resemble his brother and put up some similar numbers. Obviously, not exactly what Jalen Johnson did in Utah, but still a really good and wide variety stat line by Kobe Johnson. He did just about everything. He did. So that was really cool to see. But the spirits are higher in Atlanta right now. We are soaring. It's crazy to say that, knowing that we're without Trae Young. We have now improved to 6-2 without Trae Young, and since the timetable for him to return is getting closer and closer, we had to start to consider what exactly is going to happen when Trae Young comes back. Like, because what we really need to happen is for him to come in and kind of conform to what he was last year, just a pure playmaker, not trying to be our top scorer, not trying to be Steph Curry, just a pure playmaker. But what we've seen so far this year before he got injured was the exact opposite. He felt like he had to be the number one option. But I don't know about you guys, but I kind of feel like he can't be that anymore when he comes back. Not absolutely not. Not after the
Yeah,
week that
that's what I
Jalen
was telling
Johnson.
you. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's what I was telling you earlier. I mean, I firmly believe that Jalen Johnson is our number one option.
Yep. Oh, after the week he just had, there's no question about that. I mean,
Yeah.
he just won Eastern Conference Player of the Week for a reason, and he almost averaged a triple double throughout the entire West Coast. And it's not, and the thing about Jalen Johnson is it's not like, because Trae Young, he's a great player, he's a great playmaker, he's got elite playmaking abilities, he's got great handles, he sees the court better than everybody else in the league. So I'm not going to sit here and say that Trae Young, he's worthless, but I just don't see a world where you can fit him into the system that we have now built around Jalen Johnson, because everything is complementing each other. But when Trung's on the court, he has to be the one complimenting, throwing out compliments like Oprah Winfrey. But Jalen Johnson, just everyone just communes around him so well. And he does a little bit of everything. I mean, Trae Young, again, love him to death. He's a defensive liability. Every time we're on the other end of the court, it turns into a 5-on-4 because he just doesn't have. I mean, he's what? He's like 160 pounds. He's 6'1". He's really like if me and Angie played on the Hawks, we were just a little taller. And yeah, and that's not a good recipe for good defense. But Jalen Johnson, he gets steals. He gets blocks, he rebounds, he boxed out, he sets screens, he playmates, he scores. When Jen Johnson's on a fast break, I don't think there's any defender in the league that can slow him down. I mean, because he's so explosive when he gets to the rim, he can finish under good contact. But then again, if Trae Young gets back on the court, like you said, Chase, and he's okay with taking a step back, and he understands he cannot be the number one scoring option, and he purely focuses on setting up his teammates, including Jalen Johnson, then we'll see. We'll see how if that actually gets us better. But if he gets out there and starts chunking up timeline shots just because we're down by 5, then yeah, we need to trade him for some draft capital. Or we can trade him for whatever Chase is about to get into. Before we get into that, we got to pass to Jordan, man. Like, what's your thoughts about this whole Trae Young ordeal? Because we are getting closer to his return.
I mean, like I was saying, when actually, like I was saying when we first started this on this winning streak, my move that I was the one that actually brought up this I believe that Jalen Johnson is our number one guy now, and then that Trae Young doesn't really need to be the number one, and that he needs to set guys up like Dyson, Zachary, like Jalen, like Kristaps, like Luke Kennard. Like he needs to be that a sort of playmaker, sort of playmaking point guard, and focus less on scoring. Unless we need, unless we need a deep three for a win or something. That's what I want Trae Young to have the ball. Is if we need 3-pointers to go in. Because
Yeah.
like James Johnson's good, but I still trust Trey's shot more.
Of course, and that's the thing. It's not like we want Trey to be completely absent from what he was
Right.
before. He just can't be the only guy anymore. Because I mean, we knew the Hawks were heading into the season with just such a star-studded team, but I
Yeah.
don't think we really ever imagined that we could be this complete. Like there really isn't. In my opinion, there's not really a hole in this Hawks team anymore. I would say maybe other than rebounding, we give up a lot of offensive rebounds. But I mean, with guys like a Okongwu, Porzingis, Muhammad Gay, we can fix that issue. And but other than that, is there really a hole in this team anymore?
And we can work around the flaws because I mean I know I don't want to touch too deep into it because we're going to get into it later. But the Phoenix Sun game yesterday, when we found ourselves down by 22 in the fourth quarter, I mean we worked around our flaws. I mean there was a reason we were down by 22 because we got out rebounded in that third quarter. We got outshot. We couldn't get anything to fall, but we regrouped. And then it took a scary fall. I mean, Zachary Richese kind of got the train rolling in that fourth quarter, but at what cost? I mean, he had to get taken out of the game with that let's hit contusion because of that rough fall that he took. But Jalen Johnson, being the team leader that he is, rallied the group, said, let's go win this for Zachary Richese. And ever since that injury, I mean, that kind of cut the lead to like 15, I think. But the Hawks had no flaws after that. And we still got out rebounded when it came to giving up second chance points. But we did ourselves a favor, got ourselves our own offensive rebounds, and convert that into points under some really tough finishes. Like Nah had that and one, two and ones, one from the corner and one in the paint that really almost took him to the ground. One actually did take him to the ground, and he still got the shot to fall on it. And once this Hawks team gets hot, like you said, Chase, I don't think there's any weak points.
But that's something only time will tell. But as of right now, it's telling the story pretty well. But before we get into the games, kind of like Joyner last time, didn't really have a start pitch cut per se. Kind of the conversation piece. This is kind of the same thing here. I don't really have a start pitch cut, but I do want to kind of talk about a trade proposal that's been going around really ever since John Morant had this scruffle with his head coach that got him a 1-game suspension. Bill Simmons of Yahoo Sports is the one who started this conversation.
And he's about to get fired based on what I'm seeing from
No,
phone.
I disagree.
Okay.
Maybe. We'll get into it. But he said on his podcast, he has his own little sports podcast that he does, and he said that obviously John Morant's days are numbered because of just he doesn't get along with anyone on the coaching side, not even the front office. Like he has beef with the front office now, so it just there's no reason for him to be in Memphis anymore because I mean he has personal issues, character issues, number one. But now he's just bringing it into the office with him. The coaching staff can't stand him. The front office can't stand him. I'm not even sure Memphis can stand him anymore.
They became the number one highest murder rate city in all of America since he got drafted.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Coincidence? I think not.
All right. Anyway, that's a conversation for another day.
Well, we're not accusing John Morant of any crimes whatsoever besides his celebrations.
Yeah. That's take that as you will. The proposal here is with John Morant's days being numbered. He suggests that Trae Young's days are also numbered in Atlanta because of how well they're playing without him.
Facts.
I just said this is Victorians that said that. This is Bill Simmons.
I mean, I'm sure there's other people that said this as well, but this is Bill. The report I'm reading right here came from Bill Simmons, and he's suggesting that why not just give Trae Young and John Morant a fresh start, which would send just straight up John Morant to Atlanta, Trae Young to Memphis, but they're getting a third team involved, which would be the Toronto Raptors in his case, which would bring Emmanuel Quickly, Murray Boyles, and the number 1 protected pick in 2029 also to Atlanta.
Oh.
This is conflicting.
Hold on. Wait, so 3 teams are involved? So Toronto's involved?
Toronto, Memphis, and Atlanta. And out of this deal, the Hawks would get John Morant, Emmanuel Quickly, Murray Boyles, and the 2029 protected first-round pick.
And who are we shipping off other than Trae Young?
What does Toronto get? Hold on, what does Toronto get? That's
so
my
in
question.
this instant,
what do they get? Like a handshake?
No.
I'm not getting hot chocolate. They get hot chocolate since
Let me tell you, this hot chocolate is freaking amazing. I don't care.
Hot chocolate because
guys,
I read this wrong. That is not the case at all.
Okay.
He's saying, excuse me, he's saying Memphis gets Trae Young, Toronto gets John Morant,
Better.
and we get Emmanuel quickly, Murray Borals, and the 2029 first round pick.
I was about to
Absolutely,
say,
I do
like,
that.
I was about to say, well, what's Toronto getting out of that?
So they get John Morant. Congratulations, Toronto. I mean, look, that means America's crime rate's going to go down because he can't stop waving that gun on Instagram Live. So absolutely. Let's send him to Canada. Let it be their problem. And yeah, we get Emmanuel quickly, an unprotected first round pick in
No, a protected first round pick.
even better, protected first round pick in 2027. And look, and the reason why I don't want John Morant, I don't hate John Morant. I just think it's funny how he's always getting in trouble.
Yeah.
The reason why I don't want John Morant in Atlanta because I feel like I feel like he would cause the same problems that Trae Young's already causing. Not saying
Oh, yeah,
they're the
no, it'd
same
be
time.
but it would be 10 times worse. Don't Atlanta. It
Yeah,
would be 10 times worse.
and I'm not saying that they play the same play style because there's a lot of differences in how they play. But I feel like John Morant, no matter where he is, he's going to want to be the number one scoring option. And I can't blame him because he's a fantastic finisher. And I think he should value himself that way. But you can't when you're mixed in with Jalen Johnson. So I feel like they'd still be that conflicting problem. So that's why I don't want John Morant here. And I feel like Trae Young's a better player anyways. So I feel like it'd be downgrading a little bit. But if we get a guy like Emmanuel quickly and that we can have coming off the bench,
Starting to kill Alexander Walker and then get Emmanuel quickly off the bench.
absolutely.
But then you have to consider
Keegan Wallace is going nowhere.
then that's what I was gonna say.
So Keegan Wallace is leaving, then it's a no.
So then you'd have to do something, either not keep Emmanuel quickly and do something with him, or do something with Keaton Wallace. But we can't have both. That's a lot of guard.
I love Keaton Wallace and I don't love Emmanuel quickly.
Emmanuel quickly also did miss like half the season last year too. Let's also remember that.
It's an interesting trade that I would not hate, but I feel like it's not necessary for either team. Like now, Memphis, I think Memphis wins this trade by a landslide because they get rid of their locker room issue and they bring in a guy like Trae Young who needs a fresh restart.
Yeah, Bill Simmons says they're basically just turning John to Trae Young,
which is perfect for Memphis because Trae Young will have the liberty to be the number one scoring option for a team that's limited in scoring, and Trae Young doesn't have to worry about playing defense as much because they have not reigning, but a defending defensive player of the year on their team, and he's only getting better, and his scoring is getting better. But their bench is very lackluster, so Trae Young wouldn't really be helping that aspect of the team. But in terms of getting rid of their number one problem and getting someone who can score for them, absolutely that works for Memphis.
Yeah,
and it works for me because again, I like Emmanuel quickly. We need more draft capital. That's something we all know we need.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Man, even though like the pick that we have from New Orleans, I mean, that's gonna. Work out wonders for us, especially without that their season's going down the drain. Just getting more draft capital that would be perfect. But I mean, I just don't know how I feel about shipping out Trae Young. That's my only thing. Like my heart says, like, no, don't do this. So
well, I think that speaks for every Hawks fan because again, even though we know the reality of the situation and we know how much Trae Young means to the city, it's going to be a very painful departure because like I said, we know because we understand the situation. We're not dumb. We know we're playing so much better without Trae Young, but the amount that he's done for this team ever since he's entered the league for these 7 years has been unremarkable. He's given us some of the best 7-year stretch that Hawks have had in a long time, and of course that all points back to the Eastern Conference Final run.
I think all Hawks fans are hoping that Trae Young can come back from injury and fit very well enough on this team that we thrive even more having the best playmaker in the league back in the lineup. Maybe he steps it up. He provides a little more help defensively. He doesn't drown our chemistry, but it stays afloat. And then maybe if it all goes so well, he could even sign an extension at the end of the season. That's a dream scenario for Hawks fans. But I think what Hawks fans are worried about is knowing Trae Young, the type of player he is. They're just not really sure he can come back and be that guy.
And that's going to be the big question mark.
But then again, that's something only time will tell. But does anyone have any other thoughts on that trade proposal before we hop into what was a very horrible Western road trip
for people out in the West?
For people out in the West, thank you.
Yeah, for people. I mean, like I think when we go back to like my thoughts, I think the only thing that I'll be glad about is like we're sending him to the Western Conference. We're not keeping him like in the
Yeah.
East. But also we'd be sending him to a competitive Western Conference.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, would he have a chance to win a championship in Memphis? Probably not. He probably has a better chance to win a championship with us than he would
Oh,
with
100%.
with any Western Conference team. Just gonna, just gonna how stacked that conference is. So,
And it's
yeah,
the Grizzlies are a very confused franchise right now. I don't even know they really know what their direction is anymore because it looked like they had everything going for them just a season and a half ago. But then ever since the surprise firing of their head coach at the middle of last season, it
yeah,
kind of seemed like they just collapsed on themselves. And now they don't really know what to do to pick up the pieces.
It's set their franchise back 5 or 10 years for sure because they were trending in the right direction up until about halfway through last year when these problems started arising, and it's been like a cancer to that franchise. It started off just with a small issue, and now it's expanded to something that's either got to be removed or it's just going to keep getting worse.
Yeah, but then again, that's Memphis's problem to fix, not ours. So I mean,
Good thing we're not talking Raw or Memphis Grizzlies. I didn't know. I was trying to think of like some goofball out there is probably doing a podcast right now, just talking about how much he hates his
they
life.
probably roar at the end of their podcast. What a loser.
Anyways, let's get into some Hawks basketball.
yes,
So, starting on Monday, November 10th, the Atlanta Hawks
yeah.
started their out west road trip in LA. Not playing the Lakers, playing the Clippers because the Hawks before this game. Sorry, just got an ESPN notification about the last chance you coach. That's a whole mess. Anyways,
Rest in peace, John Bean.
R.I.P. Previously before heading on this out west road trip, the Hawks had that incredible home win against the Lakers where we were severely handicapped, yet we still took our business in a very dominant fashion. Go tune into our last episode if you want to hear more about that game. So now we're heading to LA to play the LA Clippers. A very interesting lineup. One of the actually, I think it say they had the oldest lineup in NBA history,
And we had the third youngest lineup in
Yeah.
the current NBA.
So this was one of the youngest teams in the NBA versus the oldest team any NBA team has ever had.
It's Unk. It's Unk status.
Because they have players like James Harden, Brooke
Chris Paul.
Lopez, Nicholas Batum, Chris Paul. It's Chris Dunn. Like it's just everywhere you look, there's players that's been in the league for years. And on paper, especially with a coach like Tyronn Lue, you'd expect them to have some success, but they're just struggling to find wins, and that comes with finishing games. And the Hawks took that to advantage because if you remember, we started the game off really cold. It was we lost the first quarter by 10. About halfway through the second quarter, we found ourselves down by 18.
This is
at one point.
This was a trend that we were following the last few games going into this matchup. Aside from that Lakers game, the Hawks found themselves in some early deep water
We
in their
did.
previous games. But again, we would come out with wins 9 times out of 10. But it's like you don't want to start off that way.
And this is probably out of that stretch the worst we ever started because about halfway through the second quarter, we were thinking this game was going to be disaster. But then the Hawks rallied, won the second quarter by 10, and all of a sudden we were tied at halftime. And it was a very back and forth finish. The Hawks looked like they had control towards the end of the fourth quarter, but then we kind of saw flashes to what happened when we went to Chicago. We let the lead slip from our hands, and it was a really close finish. And we got to shout out James Harden because he probably took one of the worst clutch moment shots I've seen in my life.
Yeah, that's dumb.
It was like Denzel Valentine, like, no! I can only imagine the LA Clipper broadcasters just losing their mind.
Who was it that missed the free throw?
It was Zachary Richardson.
Zachary Richardson
Yeah.
made the first free throw to make it a 3-point game, missed the second. James Harden got the rebound, gave it to James Harden. He took it across half court, and with 9 seconds on the clock, heaved up a 3 from the timeline.
He had 9 seconds.
And missed horribly. And then, of course, the Hawks got the rebound and fit. The rest was history. So shout out to you, James Harden. I mean, you might still be a baller, but I don't know where your clutch gene went because you ain't clutch anymore. So the Hawks won by 3. I'm going to get some stats here. Then I'm going to kick it off to y'all to kind of break it down even further. Hawks shot 45% there, 38% from 3. This was the first edition of what we like to call
Heat check.
but no, a heat check, but check as in
Czechoslovakia, where Vit Krijic is from. Heat check. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. Heat check is his new nickname. So there was a moment in the second. It's when we were down by 18. It was four straight threes from Vit Krijic that got the Hawks back in the game. We shot 80% from the free throw line. The Clippers only beat us on rebounds by one. They still beat us on offensive rebounds. They didn't have a ton though, but this was a difference maker. The Hawks with 30 assists, the Clippers with 19. Our ball movement was way more superior than the Clippers. It was really just give the ball to James Harden and let him take over. That was the Clippers ever. Really their only game plan, but here the Atlanta Hawks shared the ball evenly. Our chemistry was good, and when the James Harden was off the court, the Clippers just collapsed. 11 turnovers each, 7 steals for each. They beat us on blocks by one. So defensively, it was about the same game. The Hawks just had a little more smoother movement on offense versus them. So, Jordan, I'm going to kick it off to you first. Now that we have the basis, the foundation for this game, what did you see? What did you like from this matchup?
I'm gonna say it again. Vic Krejci. Like dropping
Check,
28
baby.
points off the bench. That's almost the. I can't say that. I can't say that that's like another of because plenty of people have done it, but like still, like this is a guy that like usually gets like garbage time last season, and he's like stepped up like big this season, especially off the bench too. Like yeah, like that, that's all I gotta say. But also, like KP dropping 20,
Yep.
Zachary with 11, Jalen Johnson had a sort of quiet night, dropping 16 and 10. But Dyson this is the ball. But Dyson having Dyson sort of having a Draymond-esque game with 8 assists,
Yeah.
3 rebounds, and six
That's a
points.
Draymond stat line if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, but he did have three steals, which
Yep.
again, that's what we signed him for is his defense.
Keep doing your thing, man.
But yeah, just like but our bench just played phenomenal in this game, and that's what we needed them to do.
Really
So
did. Yeah, I'm just gonna say, get ready to hear Vic Krivic's name a lot because
Yep.
this is not the only time that he had this little hot spurt. Like this all, I don't know what the West Coast does to Vic, but it got to the point where I just started referring to him as West Coast Vic because he's just different on this side of the United States of America. Because coming into this game, Vic Krivic was one of those players that we were kind of interchangeable with Luke Kennard. But Luke Kennard was the bigger idol coming off the bench in terms of who you going to dish it out when you want a 3-point shot. But Vic Krivic was kind of sitting in his shadows because again we signed Luke Kennard to this 3-year deal over the offseason, being the catch and shoot guy. He was going to be the focal point of who we need to dish it out to when we found ourselves with a lot of traffic inside the paint and we needed a relief three. But Vic Krivic, this is the Vic Krivic from 2 years ago that we got in LA. He became that number one scoring option because why can't I think of his name? I was just talking about him, the guy from Detroit. Luke Kennard. That was weird.
Oh.
Completely blanked on me. Because Luke Kennard, if I'm not mistaken, I want to check my facts. Played 20 minutes. So he kind of shared the court about the same as Vic Krivic. But I think what really propelled Quinn Snyder to let Vic be that number one catch shoot option in the second half was what he did in that second quarter. That propelled the Hawks comeback, really lifted our momentum that carried us the rest of the way. And he kind of saw that from Vic and really it became more exposed as the West Coast trip went on, especially the game in Sacramento. He had that moment again in Utah. And it's been a building storyline for Vic Krivic coming off the road, not coming back to Atlanta. I expect Quinn Snyder to gather the troops, look over film, look over the stat sheet, see what worked best in his road trip. And I'm telling you, Luke Kennard's not going to be taking a step back because, again, we signed him for this. But Vic Krivic, we even saw in the Phoenix game, they were on the court together at one point because our 3-point shots were falling. And Quinn said, all right, I'm tired of this. We need all of our weapons on the court from beyond the arc. And that's what you get when you get a duo like Luke Kennard and then Vic Krivic coming off the bench in games like this to complement when Luke Kennard's shots aren't falling. So you've got a backup for the backup that's almost just as reliable. And I think that just really points to the depth that the Hawks have in this team.
And I'm glad you said that because, as you mentioned, like previously to this road trip, Vic was hardly getting any minutes for the Atlanta Hawks.
Mm-hmm.
A little more so towards the end, like
obviously in the Lakers game because of how handicapped we were. But I mean, now, like, look at what he showcased in these past 4 games in the Atlas road trip. Quinn Snyder's looking to seem like I knew I had debt, but Vic Krivich was going to be kind of like the end of the bench type of guy. But now it's like, wait a minute, like he's going to play a bigger role now. Like I have a bigger use for him than I ever thought I did. And obviously, for a head coach, that's a phenomenal problem to have when you discover that your debt is deeper than even you thought. So, I mean, that's huge for the Atlanta Hawks, knowing that, hey, this is another guy. We can just increase our minutes, knowing that because this wasn't just a heat check. This has been going on for 4 games now. So, this is consistency. This is us knowing, like, this is something that's going to happen consistently, not just in the moment. Right, and I do want to shout out Kristaps Porzingis, like Joyner pointed out. He had 20 points in this game, but I think the biggest impact, especially down the stretch in the fourth quarter, was he neutralized the biggest threat for us aside from James Harden. And we knew it coming into the matchup because he's given us these issues in recent years, and he directly oversees the number one flaw that the Hawks have, and that's grabbing rebounds, especially defensive rebounds, because a lot of these teams feed off of second chance points opportunities when they're playing the Hawks. And Isaac Zubac for the Clippers, I don't care what you guys say out here. Isaac Zubac, to me, is a top 3 center in the league. Just when it comes to playing the pure center position. Because that guy is probably I'm just going to go and say, he's the best box out player in the NBA. I mean, he box outs better than anybody. He was holding back a Kongwu and Kongwu and Muhammad Gabe were on the same court together. You throw those guys on the court, you expect us to get rebounds. But Zubac was still winning the rebound battle with the Kongwu and Muhammad Gabe on the court. Not together, but, interchangeable when Kristaps Porzingis needed relief. But there was one point in the game where both Muhammad Gabe and Kongwu were on the court together. But Kristaps down the stretch, I feel like really gained the upper edge on Isaac Zubac. Because had Isaac Zubac been playing like he did the first 3 quarters, I don't know if the Hawks would have escaped that fourth quarter attack from the Clippers because it gave him life again. But then again, the difference maker being Isaac Zubac was shut down because he was about the only inside threat for the Clippers because James Harden was really just building his momentum from the 3-point line. He had a couple dishes inside, but most of them came to Zubac, and he just became the number one option from inside the paint. Like you said, Kristaps had a really hard time from him in terms of physicalities. Remember, it got so bad one point that Kristaps he was very agitated with the referee crew because Zubac was all over him and he wouldn't get a call. Yeah. But when Kristaps returned the favor, he always got the call. And if you remember, at about the 5-minute mark in the fourth quarter, Kristaps got fouled out of the game because once again, Brad said he got a little too handsy on Zubac, and Kristaps was saying, "Are you kidding me? He's been doing this to me all night, but I can't do it." That was a whole thing, but we all see how that turned out in the end. But Jordan, you got any final remarks on this game?
Yeah, no, I think y'all covered it perfectly.
Perfectly, man.
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah.
All right, because after that, very tight finish in LA, the Hawks, were like, okay, we took out both Lakers teams, dominant fashion against the Lakers at home. Come to LA, beat the Clippers in a tight battle. That's 2-0 against the LA teams. What a start for the road trip! But now we got a testy battle in Sacramento, and I say testy because to me, just like the LA Kings on paper, the Clippers. Sorry. I mean, we can talk about hockey if we want. That's a whole nother. That's
all you. I don't know nothing about hockey.
Excuse me, y'all. My hockey got out of me. Outside, just like the LA Clippers, on paper, their roster is very enticing. You think with DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine when he's healthy, Russell Westbrook coming off the bench, Domantas Sabonis, Dennis Schroeder.
No, he started this game. He started.
Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot that's right. I forgot he did get him on the start. Zach LaVine did not play in this game either. That is very important to know. Yeah, that's why I mentioned. Like when he plays, it looks good. But even their bench isn't bad. I mean, they got Nick Clifford, former Hawk, Dominic Plowden, former Hawk, but then Doug McDermott.
Nick Clifford was not. He's a rookie.
Oh, I mean that's what I meant. Dominic Plowden, Nick Clifford. I meant former Colorado State. I don't know why I said. Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm all over the place, y'all. Dominic Plowden was a former Hawk. Nick Clifford was a rookie from Colorado State. Thank you, John. But I mean, on paper, the roster looks very enticing. Definitely, they should have more than 3 wins. It's it's just on the court. They don't play how you think they might. Expectations are falling lower and lower. But John, why don't you go ahead and open this one up for us and talk about how this matchup went?
Yeah, no. I mean, I just think that this was a pure dominance from the Hawks. I mean, the score was. I mean, we
Amen.
beat them by. I mean, we beat them by 133 to 100.
Yep.
I mean, yeah. I mean, Jalen Johnson had a double, 24 points, 10 rebounds, almost triple double, 8 assists. Game pretty dang close, but he only missed one shot. He only missed a 3-pointer. So
Yep.
he finished 90% shooting, 2 for 3 from three. Zachary also only missed one shot, finishing 7 for 8
man.
from the field, 15 points. Porzingis had 13 points. Noah had 14 and 6, and then Dyson posted another Draymond Green-esque stat line with five points, six boards, and 7 assists. But
That's becoming
again,
the new norm for him.
Two
Say it
steals.
again, Joyner.
And what did we sign him for? We
Say it again, Joyner. We pay him for the what?
We signed him for defense. We
Yeah.
signed him for defense. But again, our bench, which our coach cleared the bench because we didn't have a single guy sit out. Okongwu had 21 points. Moget had 2. Newell had 5. Kennard had 13. And Krejci had 11. And then Keaton Wallace, some random dude.
Hold on. I think it's how you pronounce. Is it Keaton Wallace? Listen, let me tell you. Keaton Wallace. No, say what you want. If Keaton Wallace doesn't score those 4 points, we might not win this game. Yeah, you're right. If he doesn't score those points, we only win by 29. You're right. You're right. So if he didn't score those 4 points, the Kings were back in the game. You're right. You're absolutely right, Andrew. So thank you, by the way, Keaton.
But
unsung hero.
Yeah, I mean, but Caleb Houston also got some minutes, posting up 6 points. So absolute dominance from the Hawks in this game, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think this game right here is the true Dyson Daniels gets paid for his defense type of game. Because, man, Chase and I were watching it at home, and we just kept looking at each other every time Dyson Daniels would drive inside because he had so many great looks.
That's not why I was looking at you.
Well, aside from that, obviously. But,
that was weird. I'm sorry.
Dyson Daniels had a lot of great looks inside early in the game. Jalen Johnson was seeing him early, and he was making great off-ball cuts to the rim, but he couldn't finish. I mean, shots were falling short. They were off the back of the rim. Some of them didn't even hit the rim. And you could tell that it was agitating Dyson Daniels because he wants to be a reliant scorer for the Hawks. And he's gotten better. The game in Phoenix, he made a lot of tough layups off the glass. And, and he makes, like I said, off-ball movement is great. He creates that separation for himself, and he gives him the availability to finish at the rim. But sometimes, some nights, the shots don't fall. But then again, he was always present with his defense. I mean, Russell Westbrook, he was the birthday boy in this game. Russell Westbrook, he loves to play with physicality. He's been in this league for, almost 20 years now. And before this game, the Kings were coming to this game losing, I think this was the 4th game of their home stretch, and they lost the previous 3. So normally when a team has a home stretch, this is their time to gain traction, gain momentum, bring that energy back to the home court. But they couldn't find any of that solid ground. But Russell Westbrook, in their last win against the Warriors, posted a triple-double. I'm talking about a guy who's almost been in the league for 20 years. But Dyson Daniels limited that. I mean, it was really hard time for Westbrook to get into the paint, and that's why our main focus on defense was to get Dyson off the ball and switch with Russell Westbrook when we noticed that Russell Westbrook was going to try to get inside. Because DeMar DeRozan, he was absent. There were some moments of the game where I forgot DeMar DeRozan was even playing, because we limited how he was scoring. And he did. He went back to his basics, tried that little post fade, because that's where he dominates most, is inside the post. But then again, there was Dyson Daniels switching off ball to get to DeMar DeRozan so we could lower that influence from what he could do in the post. And you shut those 2 core players down, you get a recipe for a third 3-point win. Yep. And absolutely, this is like one of those moments, I think, heading into this road trip, I just remember that. Let's go back to that Raptors game. Seeing the Hawks take control, have a dominant lead halfway through the 3rd quarter, and then watching it slip from their hands. And then we're going to this game against the Lakers, and all of a sudden, no Kristaps, no Jalen Johnson, no Dyson Daniels. And that was just like, what's happening to this Atlanta Hawks team? This is a team with high expectations. The chemistry, like, it's there, it's just inconsistent. Right. And then you start to wonder, like, is this going to be another one of those seasons where we just have failing expectations? But then all of a sudden, we saw what happened. We beat the Lakers. The Clippers, for the most part, was a really good game. Still got very inconsistent towards the end. But I think this was the first game all season that we saw the Hawks play to their full potential for all 4 quarters, from start to finish. And you watch this game, you're like, this is the Atlanta Hawks that we were expecting heading into this season. Being able to outpace everybody, have them, out defended on the defensive end, because if you look at the numbers, 14 steals to their 7, 6 blocks to their 1, and 42 assists to their 22. So this is just outplaying them on all aspects, just really taking control from start to finish. And I think this was, at this point, the only game that was on, because it started at 10:30, no other game was on. So and it was, so you had fans looking at it. I remember the NBA was posting constant clips from this game on their Instagram, and everybody in the comments was saying, like, this is the Atlanta Hawks we were scared of. Yeah. We weren't really scared of them through the first 10 games of the season, but now we're like, okay, this team's going in motion. This is a team that looks like they can compete with anybody in the league. But then we looked ahead, like, okay, we got Utah coming next, and they got to go to Phoenix. Let's see how they play then. And what? Go ahead, please, Shane. Oh, I was just gonna say, can we tip the cap to Quinn Snyder too? Because the way that he's managed his team, and you talked about that, I think that's where it starts. Yeah, you talk about it. I mean, the Hawks come in with all these expectations, and we've been losing players left and right. And you lose your core foundation in Trae Young, but he has the capability. He built this system, he built this culture in the locker room for players to know they're responsible to step up in times like this and come together. Because I bet you Quinn Snyder going to his road trip was like, this is either going to break us or it's going to build us. And in seasons past, it's the out west road trip that really breaks us. The Atlanta Hawks, when they go on these out west road trips in recent history, has not played well. Absolutely. And you can see the Hawks coming in with that mentality that this has to be the switch. This has to be where we flip the switch. And I mean, look, the Kings is a perfect example of that. First quarter, the Hawks were very efficient on offense. I mean, we scored almost 40 points in the first 37. Quarter. But the Kings were right behind us with 34 because they were attacking on the inside early. Russell Westbrook's only good quarter came in the first quarter, and then Keon Ellis came off the bench and started firing all these threes from the wing. And Quinn Snyder said, okay, we're scoring great on offense. We got the 3-point ball to fall. We got the inside attack going aside from Dyson Daniels' miscues. If we can get us to lock up defensively and limit the guys from scoring inside like Russell Westbrook and DeMar DeRozan, and we get Keon Ellis off the wing, we can run away with this game. Guess what happens in the second quarter? The Hawks win 29-12. The same team that scored 34 points in the first quarter, Quinn Snyder rallies true, and we limited to 12 points. That is how you win basketball games. You see the threat, and you use the weapons you have to neutralize. That's the difference between a great coach and a good coach. Yep. Like any good coach can use a roster like this and make them competitive in every game. But it takes a great coach to look at a team and say, we're in this game, but how can we limit them in such a way where we take full control? Oh, yeah. And like you said, that's what they did. You found their one threat. Get Ellis from coming out and attacking the wing. Shut Russell Westbrook from bullying us in the paint. Sabonis. I forgot about Sabonis. Sabonis was quiet. He's always a paint threat. That's who Sabonis is. He's a modern day. I'd say he's Nikola Jokic on Wish. And we know how great Nikola Jokic is, but they play the same. It's just Sabonis doesn't do it as well. But we completely shut him down. We boxed him out perfectly. He wasn't able to dominate on rebounds like he was used to. He wasn't a playmaker like he usually is because we shut down his passing lanes. So while we were staying competitive, we took the aspects of the Kings that make them on this roster what they use as offensive threats. We shut it down. We just took him out of the game completely. And that's your recipe for a 33-point win right there, ladies and gentlemen. John, what got any final thoughts on this game here?
I mean, no. Again, like I said, I think I covered it perfectly. Yeah, just a dominant win.
So with the Hawks starting 2-0 on the road trip, now you're looking at, hey, we got to go to Utah. We got to play a Jazz team. God, man, you talk about a testing team that they're young.
What happened last time in Utah? Even though we don't have them.
They talked about it. Yeah, Trey Young, hit
Yeah.
that three fourth quarter buzzer beater to beat the Jazz on the road last year. But now without Trey Young, but you look at this Jazz team, you go, this is a young and feisty team. But without Walter Kessler, the Hawks seemingly had the size advantage. You're like, well, the only way Utah can really hit us now is if they attack us from deep. And boy, did they. And you lay the foundation for this one. And you talked about it, the size advantage. We lost Kristaps Porzingis in this game.
Yes.
And we knew going into the matchup, we needed that size advantage.
Yep.
And we were like, okay, we have Muhammad Gay, we have Onyeka Okongwu. We can be okay, but we really needed Kristaps for this game. And like you said, Chase, I mean, the Utah Jazz, I'll go ahead and throw some stats out there. Both teams shot phenomenal. Hawks were just over 50%, 51 from the field. The Jazz, 49%. But this is the stat we need to look into. Both teams shot near 53s in this game. That's where this Utah Jazz team lives and dies by.
Yep.
But the Hawks,
especially without a guy like Walter Kessler, it's like their inside attacks it's not their main game anymore.
absolutely. And the Hawks, I think, pride themselves, especially Quinn Snyder. I mean, there is a message that he put out in the team at the start of the season that if there's one thing he really wants to build upon going to this year was establishing a phenomenal 3-point threat. Because look at years past. The Hawks ever since Quinn Snyder's jumped on board has always finished in the top 10 in the NBA in points per game and top 10 in the NBA on 3-point attempts per game. But the percentage didn't always complement the amount of attempts we were taking. But Quinn Snyder said, if I can get an efficient 3-point shot on this team, that's how we can cause landslides in some of these games. And Quinn Snyder told his players, if you have a look, do not hesitate. And he looked at the big men too, because he knows that Okongwu, Muhammad Gay, Kristaps Porzingis all have the ability to score from outside.
But thanks to Quinn Snyder, because we've talked about in the episodes past, that's one aspect of Quinn Snyder that's been consistent since he's joined the Hawks. He teaches our big men to shoot, and he wants to be just as involved on the outside shooting as everybody else.
And that's exactly what we saw here. I mean, Utah Jazz. I mean, I want to give a shout to Ace Bailey. He had a career game for the Jazz in this game. Both teams shot near 50 3-pointers, and both teams were near 50%. Well, really around 40, 45%. But that is phenomenal when you're taking about 50 3-point shots per game. And again, like I said, Ace Bailey, he caught stride from the perimeter, from the wing sides, which is where Dyson Daniels learned.
Yep.
But what makes Ace Bailey so good, and something that Quinn Snyder talking about his defensive audibles, how to get it used to, was Ace Bailey moves off ball like Steph Curry does. He gets himself open. He ran away from Dyson Daniels, and he doesn't need a lot of time to shoot.
He doesn't wait for the opportunity to shoot. He creates it.
And that was very present. And then again, good Lord, do I even have to say his name? Lauri Markkanen dropping 40 points in this game. And I got flashbacks to the last time we were in Utah. It was that battle between Colin Sexton and Trey Young, but then there was Lauri Markkanen, who never missed.
It's funny. There's someone on Twitter that made a post about it the other day, and I thought this was very funny. They said that Lauri Markkanen probably has the best job in the NBA. They said he's a very underrated player, and that when he goes off, like posts a stat line like he did with the Hawks, dropped 40 points, 7 rebounds, or the other day against the Bulls when he dropped 40-plus points, they're like, everybody's like, oh, wow, look at Lauri Markkanen, what a stat line. But then when he sucks, no one really cares. They're like, oh, well, he just had a bad game, It's like there's no pressure on Lauri Markkanen. He can just go off whenever he wants to. But then when he doesn't go off, it's like, that's all right.
And I'm going to say this right now, for any Utah Jazz fans out there, listen, you're not going to make the playoffs. You might have a chance to make the play-in, but don't worry about that, because what you have right now is probably the most entertaining team in the NBA, because you are going to get a banger every single night. You've got a great head coach. You've got a great team captain in Kevin Love, who doesn't need to touch the court to make an influence. You already see what he's building here in Utah. And, John, I'm going to pass it to you because I know you're the stats guy, but I'm just going to say one thing real quick. Onyeka Okongwu, how many threes did he have? 8. 8 of them things. If your number one center in this game is making 8 3-pointers, listen, all the power to you, man, because that is the recipe that Quinn Snyder wants to build in Atlanta. And he had a career night. He had a career high on points with 32, because of course he did. He was chucking up 8 threes. And he had a career night on rebounding, right? Not a career 9, but he did have 11 rebounds. He did have lower, so it wasn't a career 9 because he's had more than that. But okay, I thought he had maybe another career stat, but that's right. It was a career high on 3-pointers. That's what it was because obviously he made 8. But yeah, Joyner, there not only did Okongwu have an incredible stat line, Jalen Johnson, he's the man of the hour. I'm gonna let you and Chase touch.
Man the wink.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. I'm gonna let you and Chase. Talk about Jalen Johnson because I don't think I need to say it. This was by far the best game of his career, and it's gonna be like that for a long time. Joyner, what did he have?
He had 31 points, 10 for 19 true shooting, 4 for 5 from 3. 18 rebounds.
This is my favorite part. This upcoming part is my favorite.
Assists.
This is my favorite part right here. That's what I meant. This one right here. How many steals, Joyner?
He had 7 steals.
You thought Dyson Daniels could do it? You thought he was the only one?
Yeah, not 6, 7.
And the thing is, we don't even pay him.
I'm sorry,
that's just included.
I had to.
I love you for that, Joyner. Hey,
but
go ahead.
But like this game right here should have skyrocketed Jalen Johnson's all-star voting potential. Like
and MVP. I'm just saying. Maybe. I'm just saying. Yeah. I hate it for Wemby. But with him being out for the
camera, guys, I think Steven's giving me 6 in the camera because I just can't stop.
Listen. I don't think you guys have to cover your MVP coughs for much longer because with Wemby being out for the next few weeks and Luka being inconsistent on his court time, this is the chance for Jalen to get his foot in that door, and that's not an exaggeration. That's not an exaggeration at all. But Joyner, you go ahead.
So the stats we had besides that monstrous stat from Jalen Johnson, Okongwu was surprisingly enough was our leading scorer with 32 points, shooting 8 3-pointers like we mentioned. With 11 rebounds. I made a foul trouble with 5 fouls, but hey, that's okay.
We can forgive you. We can forgive you for that.
Right, yes. Zachary had 11 points. Quiet game from Zach, but that's what we sort of expect sometimes. Noah had 16, 5 assists, 2 rebounds, and 2 steals. And Dyson, 2 points, but again had 1 steal. So he had a bit of a quiet game. But you know what? That's okay.
Because Jalen was taking them all.
Yeah, exactly. Jalen took his thunder, but that's fine. Moke had 8 points. Luke Kennard had 12, but Vic Krejci again 20 points off the bench.
It's just, that like Andrew said, it's not the last time we're going to mention Vic Krejci because night after night, Bob Rathman screaming, the flame is still lit on this Western Conference road trip. But I'm going to throw it back to Jalen Johnson real quick because there's something important to mention about that stat line he had. 31 points, career high. 18 rebounds, career high. 14 assists, career high. 7 steals, career high. He had a career high on every single statistic except blocks. He didn't have a block. That didn't matter. Another thing to mention, I'm glad you gave me those out as Andrew. I think this is the most important part of the stat line. The first guy in NBA history. Think about all the players that ever played in the NBA then and now. The first guy ever, there stands one, is Jalen Johnson, to ever have that kind of stat line. Ever in NBA history. He had not only a historic night for himself, but a historic night in the entire association. In his history.
I think Jokic had that stat line. Jokic is a freaking 3-time MVP? 4-time MVP?
That stat line, that's a Jokic stat line. Now, those are numbers like Nikola Jokic puts up on the daily. It's never been that good. It's never been anything like that. And Chase, I want you to talk about what Jalen Johnson did in particular that got him this stat line right here. Because I think he was present in just about every single play Quinn Snyder was running on both ends of the court. But I want you to kind of allude to because yes, when you look at the stat line, you're like, this is incredible. This is a different Jalen Johnson. But why was it a different Jalen Johnson this game? I think, to me, like the way I saw it, it's like heading into this game, it was all about matchups. It was understanding who the Jazz are as a team and what they're lacking. They're missing Walter Kessler, so obviously their inside presence is already weak. I mean, of course, you got Larry Markkinen, he's a tall glass of water. But then you got Kyle Fapowski, the guy from Duke, coming off the bench, but he's not the most physical guy inside the paint. Other than that, the Jazz just have a really, I don't want to say small, but a small ball S team that plays fast style and attacks from deep. I mean, they have Joseph Nurkic, which was really good acquisition. It was. But I think that this was right here, Jay, an opportunity to say, okay, I'm going to see your disadvantages and I'm going to match it to what I can do. And that's going to start on the fast break. This is a fast team. That was the word I was looking for. This is a team that's going to, try to outpace you up and down the court. When you mentioned at the start of the podcast, Angie, when you got a guy like Jalen Johnson on the fast break, name someone in the NBA that's going to stop it. Nobody. And he was scoring, he was finishing on it. And I don't think anyone on the Jazz could. So he's like, I understand this is a fast team. They're going to try to outpace us, but I'm not going to let them outpace me. The Jazz had a total of 24 turnovers. 7 of those, of course, come from Jalen Johnson. But the thing was, as soon as we got Jalen Johnson either got the steal or we got a defensive rebound or there was any type of turnover, Jalen Johnson's name was ran all over, and he quickly took it from one end to the other on multiple occasions. And even on like true offensive possessions, he did the same thing. His off-ball movement was incredible, and he found any way he could to get inside. Like Andy said, he finished everything, contact or no contact. He was coming at you at the rim and finishing everything, and he got into a rhythm where, like, as soon as the Hawks got the ball, you knew who was going to, and you knew there's nothing they could do to stop it. And that's the type of presence that Jalen Johnson saying for himself. With that, God, we hate that Trae Young got injured. We know that. We know James Johnson was good even with Trae Young. But this has allowed the opportunity for not only the Hawks, but everyone to see the true player that Jalen Johnson can be. He can be a number one option consistently and a dominant, if one of the best number one options in the NBA. And it's the whole reason that people are looking at Trae Young now and saying, hey, but when you come back, we don't think you can be the number one option anymore. We think Jalen Johnson's got that under the bag, and we think he can do it more consistently than you can. But I never thought that would be a conversation this year, but that's where we're at. And it's a good problem to have. We just hope Trae Young sees it as a good problem. Yeah. And you never want to call an injury a blessing in disguise. But you said it, Chase. It did open the door for Jalen Johnson, and you can really everybody on this team, if we're being honest. You can see the team chemistry, and not just on offense, but on defense. Because you look at how Jalen Johnson was able to acquire so many steals, because he was always on the defensive end. He was always in constant communication with his teammates of where he was going to be and how he can set up his teammates to position themselves to limit the Jazz. And because Dyson and Nall were doing their job on the defensive front court, it caused Utah to go in panic mode and make bad passes. And Jalen Johnson was there to intercept those passes. And it all starts with communication. And look at the bonding they have on that team. After the game, when the Hawks silent reporter got Jalen Johnson and Conley both for the post game interview, they weren't even talking about themselves. They were both talking about each other and how they bounced off each other and how they were able to make plays because of the trends each other started. And that's what you want to see from a basketball team. But Joyner, what else you got?
Real quick before we move on from this Utah game, I want to talk about how good Larry Markkinen is.
Every time, man, he's a monster.
I don't know if saw this report earlier today, but apparently Draymond Green blocked a Golden State Warriors trade for Markkinen because he thought that Golden State would give up too much for him.
There is no too much. Are you talking about Markkinen? Like this was recent, like a recent trade negotiation?
No. Hold on.
Or this was back when he left Chicago?
This is 3 weeks. I think this was recent. I think that this was recent.
Draymond's trying to sabotage now. He's just trolling. He's a troll. He trolls now. He's trolling.
His reason was because of the Jazz CEO Danny Ainge is known for making good, getting the better out of trades and stuff. So which I mean I don't think that's necessarily like right because well, I mean, because because going back to the Luka trade, the Jazz were part of that deal. If y'all remember, but I don't think that the Jazz knew it was for Luka, or else they would have gotten a lot more. But yeah,
Yeah.
like Draymond did block a Utah Jazz trade for
Yeah,
Lowry.
buddy's straight up trolling. But I mean,
Yeah,
I mean, there is no too much for the way Lauren Markin's playing right now. There is no such thing as too much. You
no.
could send the house for a guy.
He's
Like
one of the most disrespected players in the NBA because I
Oh
don't
my
think
God.
no one realizes how dominant he is until you play him. And even not just watch it's ever since he's been in the league. Like even in his days in Chicago, every time the Hawks play Larry Markin, he just goes crazy. And then I watch him on a night-to-night basis. Like the other game against Chicago, he went crazy. And I'm just like, why is nobody talking about him? Like Larry Markin is a true threat in this league.
Yeah, if I'm any GM and there's an opportunity that I could trade for Lauren Markkinen, and if I had to give the house, if it's worth it, if you're in a position like Golden State and you have to trade guys like Draymond Green and some of your draft capital to get a guy like Laurie, you don't hesitate. You absolutely do that because he's
Yeah.
worth those kind of packages.
But I know time's running low on this podcast, and we still got one more game to talk about. I think we can all agree this was probably the game of the West road trip because this was obviously the toughest matchup. I mean, the Phoenix Suns. This was the kind of team you were worried about because I mean, sure, they got a great, starting lineup in Devin Booker, Dylan Brooks was a huge accusation.
Golly, Dylan Brooks, man, he's different.
Royce O'Neal, Mark Williams, Ryan Dunn, but it's the same problem the Suns has had for years. Their bench just sucks. Like they have nobody on
It's
that
all
bench.
because I'm telling you, it's all because that Kevin Durant trade.
It was.
4 years ago or 3 years ago, however
Yeah.
long that trade was.
No,
It was
you're
all
absolutely right. Because even in their days in the finals, even when they made the NBA finals, their
When they
starting
had
lineup was so
they had
dominant.
Cam Johnson. They had Cam Johnson. Who else did they give up? Cam Johnson.
Yeah, Mikal Bridges.
Yeah, Mikal Bridges. Yeah, Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges.
And I know
They
Cameron Payne was
gave him up for Kevin Durant.
Cameron Payne was also a guy they ended up
Yeah.
losing as well. And it's just like, so you're ever since their days in the finals, like you can go back to that year. Yeah, they won the Western Conference, but it was just because their starting lineup, and they lost the finals because their bench was awful, and it's gotten worse since. But this is a team that can compete. The Suns, they're playing great basketball.
That finals run was with Kevin Durant. That was before the trade.
Yeah,
For Kevin Durant.
that's what I'm saying. I'm saying
Yeah.
even before the Kevin Durant days, their bench was still a problem. Is what I was saying.
Yeah, going into this game, I was just gonna just throw this one thing out there, Chase. You talking about how hot the Suns were? Hawks going into this game were on a 4-game win streak. The Suns won 6 of their last 7 games.
Yeah.
Going into this was a battle of two teams that have found their stride.
Yeah. And so you look at this game, like this is the game. Like, this is going to be the true test on this road trip. Because I mean, the Clippers, Kings, and the Jazz, they have sneaky lineups, so they're just not playing great ball right now. The Suns are. So this is like, okay, let's see how hot, let's see how red hot this Hawks team truly was. And I'm gonna go ahead and lay the foundation and let y'all get into it.
No Kristaps again.
No Kristaps again. Kristaps was expected to play, and then hours before the game, he was rolled out. So the Hawks were once again kind of hit with that issue, which with his recent inconsistency, there has been open rumors about possibly trading Kristaps Porzingis.
Yeah.
One deal had him going back to Boston. I've seen a couple other deals here and there, so that's kind of something we have to keep an eye on.
What would we get from Boston? I don't know what we would get from Boston.
Who do they have?
There's no one on Boston I really want.
Unless we get Jaylen Brown somehow, then sure, make it work. I did
That
see
contract is way too big. Even like don't go. I mean that contract wouldn't. That contract wouldn't even match it. No,
I
that
did
contract
see.
wouldn't match.
I did see a contract that would match though. What we talked about earlier is Domantas Sabonis was another trade potential landing spot that I saw for Kristaps. I don't want to get into trade talks. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I would love Sabonis.
No, yeah.
So kind of already hit that problem, but there's not really a size advantage here. The Hawks, had the size over the Phoenix Suns, and heading into this game, it started great. Like the Hawks were playing great offensively, and then it was
really the second, I'd say in the first quarter, but it was really in the second quarter where we had our issues, and our issues it's two words. It's Dylan Brooks.
God, man, what kind of steroids did he take in the offseason?
Dylan Brooks and Devin Booker. Dylan Brooks had 34 points. Devin Booker had 27. Their next leading scorer had 15, which is Colin Gillespie off the bench. He played a surprising sneaky game. But everybody else,
he was good last night.
and everybody else has kind of played like Lester. And it's important to know Grayson Allen, who's one of the best 3-point shooters in the league right now, he was out. So that was important to know. They were without their hot hand.
He had like what, 8 threes in one game?
Yeah, 10 threes just recently. He had 10 threes just a couple games ago.
And they really need him because they could not get the 3-point ball to fall.
And that was a big disadvantage for the Hawks, and so we were heading into halftime down by one, but we saw a glimpse. Okay, we'll end this game. We're making our shots offensively. This isn't an offensive problem, but we just got to find a way to shut down Dylan Brooks and Devin Booker because it wasn't, like I just said, it wasn't from deep. It was from the inside. It was post up shooting. Defensive rebound was such a problem for Atlanta here. I cannot tell you how many second chance points the Phoenix Suns had on the Atlanta Hawks. 16 offensive rebounds to a 9. And
that's bad.
There was one possession where they had 4 opportunities to score. They got 3 offensive rebounds in one possession and scored on their 4th. And it was things like that. We're like, if the Hawks had figured out how to rebound, this would be a different game. Where obviously that didn't happen because they dominated us in the third quarter. They won the third quarter 37-20. So heading into the fourth quarter, the Hawks found themselves down by 18. And if you want to know how the fourth quarter went, you can rewind it to last year, the day after Christmas, when Chicago Bulls came to Atlanta. The Hawks found themselves down by, I think it was 16 or 17 in the fourth quarter, and the Hawks dropped 50 points at home to storm back. Andrew and I were in attendance for that game. One of the craziest Hawks games I've ever seen. And that's almost exactly what happened in Phoenix. And it all started because we opened the fourth quarter on a 20-0 run. And like a span of 4 minutes. Like it was quick. It took us 4 minutes to get 20 points back without them scoring. And the Hawks obviously ended up completing the comeback, winning it 124-112. Jalen Johnson had another phenomenal game. He could have had 4 triple-doubles this road trip because against the Clippers and the Kings, he was 2 assists short. He got a triple-double in Utah.
Which was his third career triple-double, by the way. And you would think he had more.
And he was 3 assists short here in Phoenix. So he was just a couple assists away from having 4 triple-doubles on his road trip, which is crazy to think about. Okongwu had 27 points, another great game. Dyson Daniels was 3 rebounds short from a triple-double, but he had 11 points, 12 assists, and 7 rebounds. He was a huge part of that fourth quarter resurgence. Nikhil Alexander-Walker had 26. Zachary Richey had 15 before he got taken out with his injury. And Vic Krivich, this was his worst game on the road trip. He didn't shoot the ball as well, but he did have a really clutch and important 3-point shot in the fourth quarter. But I'm going to kick it to you, John, to start it off, and you can kind of just talk about this game, man. Like, one of the craziest Hawks games I've ever seen.
100%.
Yeah, I think y'all pretty much. I'm gonna cover most of it, but something we didn't really go into first, but the Zach energy. First of all, prayers up to Zach. To Zach. That fall, guys. Y'all didn't see that fall. I just find it on Twitter or Instagram or something, but it was or don't
it makes you cringe. We don't recommend.
It has to be the scariest fall in NBA history. I thought he was paralyzed or something, but
he came really close to landing on his neck. That probably would have paralyzed him.
Yeah. But thankfully it's only like a right leg contusion or something like that.
It's a left hip contusion, which is probably the best thing he could have gone out of that scenario.
Yeah. It's at worst. We'll probably only have. At best, he's probably only going to miss maybe 1 or 2 games, maybe 3. It depends on.
That's a blessing because I didn't mean to cut you off. I was trying to throw it out here. That fall reminded me, if y'all remember, you have to throw back the clock here. I don't remember this when it happened, but I've seen many replays of it. Was Andrew Bogut in 2010 when he was with the Milwaukee Bucks. He had a dunk when it was on a fast break, just like Zachary did. And when he dunked it, he I guess he just got too much momentum leaning one way, and he ended up falling just like Zachary did. But instead of being okay, or instead of having a left hip contusion, Andrew Bogut shattered shattered his arm.
Yeah.
Broke his arm, and he missed the rest of the season and the playoffs that year. So when I saw Zachary starting to fall that way, I instantly thought of Andrew Bogut. I was like, oh God, Zachary, please be okay. And screw the Phoenix Suns, by the way, because let me tell you, that was the worst sportsmanship I've ever seen. Because listen, it's not against the rules, but it is an unwritten rule in the NBA. You see it all the time. A player takes a scary fall, both teams will agree to stop playing to make sure he's okay. But as soon as Zachary took that fall and everybody on the Hawks thought that he was seriously injured, the whole team rallied to Zachary Ricochet. But meanwhile, the Phoenix Suns saw it as an opportunity to get a cheap bucket, quickly inbound the ball, forcing the Hawks to take an intentional foul. And the Suns were up by 15. It's not like it was a close game. They were up by 15, but they still decide that they'd rather take a cheap bucket or force an intentional foul. And yeah, I just that was just a really
that had to be Dylan Brooks. That had to be Dylan Brooks' idea. Like we don't know how. I mean, like we don't know that like Dylan Brooks is basically a light skinned version of Draymond.
Absolutely. And I will say, going back to Dylan Brooks,
except that Dylan Brooks can score. I mean, but
yeah, and let's kind of touch a little bit more on that for a minute, because Dylan Brooks. Listen, we know when you think of Dylan Brooks, you kind of think of him kind of like a Patrick Beverly, and because he makes his whole on-court persona about I'm going to do whatever I can to piss you off, and that's just kind of persona he has on the court.
He gives me like Matthew Dellavedova vibes.
He does, because and he uses that. But then Bob Rathburn was talking about on the commentary during the commentary last night's game. He's a completely different person off the court. Like you talk to him off the court, he's a really genuine guy. But he just on the court, he says screw that. He just has a screw everybody mentality when he's on the court, and I don't hate it. I don't. You know what? I respect him for it, because I will say that intensity gives your team an upper hand, and it certainly did for the Phoenix Suns. He made his presence known, and I don't know what kind of offseason workouts he did, but this is the best scoring version of Dylan Brooks we've ever seen, because he can score from everywhere. And
he's always been like in Memphis. He was a Draymond Green. He was just a defensive guy.
And I've never seen Dylan Brooks have post moves like he did last night. But he like got that post fadeaway down to a T. And like Chase said, Charbonnet, I mean, the player out of Villanova from several years ago, really kind of resurged in this game.
Yeah.
And this game, and Chase made a comment last night, and I think it really touches on what this game was. This was just a game of runs, because the Atlanta Hawks got off to a really hot start. We took a commanding control up until about 6 minutes left, 7 minutes left of the first half. And then the Suns went on that massive run, and then the Hawks lost the lead at halftime. Oh, we had like a 1 point lead.
We were down by one.
Yeah, so we lost the lead at halftime.
Down by one
and Chase and I looked at each other like, we don't deserve to be down right now. We dominated that first half. But
we were the better team in the first half.
But because the Phoenix Suns couldn't establish a 3-point shot. Most of their shots were coming from the free throw line anyway.
They shot 10 for 30 from three, but I think at halftime they were like 2 for 18, something like that.
Yeah, and it's like, all because of a 5-minute run they went on at the end of the first half. That's the reason we were down. And then the problems that's rooted in the second quarter
could not get a rebound.
It stemmed in the third quarter, and that's how we found ourselves down by 18. But then again,
before you get in the fourth quarter, I just want this is exactly how bad we couldn't rebound. There was one instance in the third quarter. Andrew already knows what I'm going to talk about. I think he just spilled hot chocolate all over himself. There's a point where someone drove in and missed a layup and kind of just fell down on the ground. And so the only guy that was there to get the rebound was Dyson Daniels. But Dyson Daniels said, "Hey, I'm not gonna get the rebound. I'm just gonna watch you go out of bounds." And he just sat there and watched it. And then here comes it was Gillespie.
Oh, was it Gillespie?
Here comes
I was saying Charbonnet.
Yeah,
his name's Gillespie. Who the crap is Charbonnet?
Not.
Sorry, his name's Gillespie. I don't know who I was talking about.
Gillespie came out of nowhere, dove, and kept the ball from going out of bounds, played it inside, I think, to Royce O'Neal, and he just laid it up. And that was just
got an and one. It turned to an and one.
You're right, got an and one, and that was just a cherry on top. That just summed up the entire third quarter.
Because that was actually, that wasn't the third quarter, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I thought it was in the fourth quarter. I started the fourth quarter.
No, that like capitalized their massive third quarter. Because that was like right at the end of the third quarter, and I remember we just looked at each other, and I told Andrew,
you, I was like, we just lost control of this game. Like, we have no control of this game.
Because even though we won, that probably was a play of the night. That was spectacular.
That was phenomenal.
And because, like you said, Vic Krivich thought the ball was going to go out of bounds, and then
It was Dyson Daniels.
Well, Dyson Daniels, but Vic Krivich was in the paint.
Yeah.
And he wasn't doing anything either. And then once he realized the ball was safe.
I think Vince the one that fouled.
He is, because he had to retaliate quickly. He was like, screw this, I don't know what I'm going to do. And he just ran his hip into the guy who scored the layup.
I think it was Rosh on it.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Because I think it was his only point. I think he got the layup and then made the free throw, and that was the only time he scored.
But then it got everybody fired up. The fans were fired up. It flashed it over to the Suns bench, and they were going berserk. And it's like, yeah, we just lost this game. But then in the fourth quarter, the Hawks, they want to finish out this West Coast sweep. They want to get the road trip on the most perfect ending. And there's no way to tie this road trip all together than an 18-point comeback win. And that's what we did. I mean, we rallied the troops. These boys are resilient. And let me tell you, the unsung hero in that fourth quarter was Nickeil Alexander-Walker.
Yes.
He scored 18, or maybe it was 16. 16 of his points came in that fourth quarter alone.
And before then, he was having a really rough night. He had a couple of good shots in the first quarter, but other than that, his scoring was off.
We were creating turnovers. That's what. And again, you can look at the 20-0 run that the Hawks went on, but it all stems from getting stops. That's where the O comes from in that 20-0 run. Zach Reed, leading up to that dunk that caused the injury, he got a steal. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, most of his transition opportunities came off steals, and of course you got Jalen Johnson, who's one of the best transition players in the NBA. He's always going to compliment you if you get a steal to create the turnover. And like you said, Chase, we start to win rebound.
Yep.
The rebound. I mean, in Nickeil Alexander-Walker, I think the two most impactful plays in that 20-0 run was the and one he took in the paint to make it a 5-point game, and then the and 1 3 from the corner to I think tie the game.
The three came first before the inside one.
Okay. Oh yeah, you're right. I got it backwards. But then the Nickeil Alexander-Walker lob it was actually Dyson Daniels' lob to Onyeka Okongwu that gave us the lead. But then you can all see where it stems from, and that's the Hawks getting the necessary stops, limiting what worked, because it got to the point in the fourth quarter where we had to throw like two bodies on Dylan Brooks and force him to pass the ball out from the paint. And Devin Booker, I mean, Devin Booker had his open shots. He missed a lot of open threes. He created some separation inside the arc and still couldn't get the mid-range shot to fall. So that was very, relieving as a Hawks fan to see Devin Booker struggle a little bit. And then once the Hawks took the lead, that's when it became a dog and cat kind of battle, like a Tom and Jerry. Like it was one team chasing the other, both teams trying to go on their runs. But the Hawks, once we got the lead, we held our own and we finished the job. But man, it wasn't easy. It was not easy. The last 2 minutes of that game is the most I've stressed in a while.
Yeah, 100%. But I mean, hey, a win is a win. We'll take it.
Win's a win, baby.
Oh, and I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off, but how can we not even talk about the very last play of that game where we I think it might have been Nickeil Alexander-Walker that missed the free throw to keep it a 3-point lead, and then Royce O'Neal chucked up a half-court shot, and when I tell you that thing almost went in,
it was almost like Joel Embiid. A couple years ago when his full court shot just hit the back of the rim and shot out. If he left it a little more short, the Suns would have won that game.
Yeah, it was heart-wrenching. But we won, and we swept the West Coast, and now we're on a 5-game win streak, getting a chance to win our 10th straight against the hottest team in the NBA, the Detroit Pistons. But it's going to be Peach edition.
That was taken off national TV a few weeks ago.
Can you believe that?
For the Grizzlies and the Spurs. Who wants to watch that? And then now Wemby's not even playing for San Antonio, so you're not going to have Wemby. Ja Morant might not play.
They should look. They should look and put us back on national TV now. Now that we've proven that we can win without Trae Young.
This is the hottest team in the NBA, the Detroit Pistons. They're on a 9-game winning streak, playing the Atlanta Hawks, who might be the second hottest team in the NBA. And this is a premier matchup right here.
And we're debuting our Peach City Edition jerseys. Yep. Like it's the aesthetic is all there. Like how do you not want this on a national broadcast?
But no, if you're not from Atlanta, enjoy watching the Victor Wembanyama-less Spurs taking on the Ja Morant-less Memphis Grizzlies. Yeah, that's gonna be a fun 80-81 finish. Yeah, in case you're wondering, the Grizzlies have lost 4 in a row too, so they're red hot. Unbelievable. But anything else we want to discuss before we let this one go?
I mean, do we want to like discuss for like a few minutes the Seahawks game?
Oh yeah. Joiner, if you want to go ahead and open that up and kind of talk about how, in case you don't know what he's talking about, when we went to that Hawks and Rockets preseason game earlier in the year, we were given free vouchers to College Park Hawks game. So we went to their home opener this past Friday against the Capital City Go-Go's, which is one of the worst names I've ever heard ever.
Yeah, I
You
don't know
know,
why.
shout out to
Don't
you,
know why they're called
Washington.
that.
Yeah, shout out to you, Washington. But, talk about that game, Jordan. How'd that go?
If I can find the box score, I will do that for sure. I think this is it. Okay. I found. I'm trying to go on the website, but I mean, yeah. Like it was a. I mean, it was opening. It was opening night for the of the College Park Skyhawks. We got to see Jalen Johnson's younger brother Kobe Johnson
Yep.
play.
Plays
And
a lot like him, if you can't believe that.
yeah, he plays a lot like him.
It was really special for me and Chase. We got to see our former Seminole MJ Walker make a few buckets, so that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So for some reason, it's not showing me like the player stats, but like it's showing like the with like I mean, it's showing like the team leaders for certain stats. But Nafoli Dante, our draft pick that we signed, he had a monster game. Dropping a double with 33 points and 11 rebounds, I believe. But Kobe Johnson had a Jalen Johnson-esque type game for a G League player, dropping I think 13 points, 11 boards, and I think 7 assists. I don't know because this box score isn't loading up. Isn't showing everything.
Yeah,
But,
that's what I'm trying to find. He
but
came really close to a triple double. He was a few assists away.
Like this game was very fun to go to. Being like our first G League game, and the arena was pretty small. I mean, obviously for being G League, like it was very small, and it was very it was very good to like go around and just like see everything, and that's where we got these hats that only cost. $17,
I'm not wearing mine.
$17, and we got free shirts too.
Yep.
We got free shirts as well.
They ran out of our sizes, so we were forced to get a T-shirt that was too big for us. But I mean, hey, a free shirt's a free shirt.
It's gonna cover the entire screen, probably. But it says I don't know if you can see that.
South side,
and then on the back it's got our schedule.
Yep.
It's pretty cool. So if we want, we could plan to go to another game, but it was. This is a fun experience, and I'm just glad we got to win because we all know our the three of our going to Hawks games. We haven't won a game since we've been watching games like together in person. We
decided that we are not allowed to watch an Atlanta Hawks game together anymore, but we can watch a Skyhawks game if we want.
Okay, but like here's my theory. Like maybe you have to start small to start winning. So you gotta start small. You gotta start with the G League, and then you work your way up. Kind of like this podcast, small podcast. We're working our way up.
We skipped a step.
Yeah. But like it was a fun experience. What y'all think about the experience going to this game?
So I did find. I finally found the official stat line.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry about that. I was literally on the box score on the website.
You're good. It was not easy to find. I had to do some dig. I don't know why they're keeping it secret from everybody.
Right? But, like ESPN doesn't have it. Like ESPN doesn't have it for some reason.
Yeah, so it's very. I did find it on the G League website. And it doesn't show everybody's stat line, but it shows like the top players. Like Kobe Johnson, he had 15 points, 13 rebounds, 6 assists, 5 blocks, and 1 steal in 35 minutes, and that was on 6 or 14 shooting.
That was
But
very Jalen Johnson-esque right there.
and he broke G League.
The kid very well be related, but we don't know that for sure.
They might be related. They kind of look alike too, and I think they had the same dad. I don't know if that means they're related. But he did make College Park history. He was the first player in College Park history to record 10 or more points, 10 or more rebounds, 5 or more assists, and 5 or more blocks in one game. So look at that. Both Johnson brothers making league history in 1 week. And Nefi Dante, his career night included 33 points, 11 rebounds. Okay, 33 points, 11 rebounds. The double, of course, along with 5 assists, 3 steals, and 1 block, and he shot 16 for 17, and that is his 6th double in a row and his 13th out of his last 15 games. Shout out to Dante, man. So he's balling right now. But my phone's on 3%, so I think we might have to wrap this thing up.
Yeah, I was going to wrap this up. My bad. I just want to talk about that.
No, I'm glad you did that. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, it was Hawks related, so we had to.
Hey, without being said, oh yeah, absolutely. We had a great time, but without being said, for me, Andrew, and John, we will catch y'all later.